Welcome back. Now we are going to look at some new Processing.js functions which allow us to have greater control over how our images look. The first set of functions that we will look at include some new shapes that we might want to draw, as well as some functions to control how those shapes look. So far in the course, we've contained many of our examples to drawing rectangles and squares, but also using the ellipses, triangles, and points and lines. But what if we wanted to draw a new shape, one that doesn't exist as a standard shape? The way that we can do that in processing is to create a series of points that represent the vertices or endpoints of the shape. We can then use that series of vertices to represent and draw the shape. Let's take a closer look at how we might do this. The first thing that we need to do is to work out the coordinates that represent the vertices of our shape. These can be as simple as you like, or can be incredibly complex. Some shapes in modern video games may consist of thousands of vertices. Once we have worked out what the coordinates of our vertices are, we can start to draw our shape. To do this, we first create our canvas. And then we start to create our instructions to create the vertices of our shape. The first thing we have to do is call the begin shape function, which tells the processing interpreter that we are about to start drawing a shape from a series of vertices. We then add the vertices by calling the vertex function, identifying the coordinates of each vertex and adding the vertices one by one. We then call the end shape function to finish drawing the shape. Can you spot anything unusual about this shape? When we have drawn the shape, we have drawn the lines between the first vertice and the second, and then between the second vertice and the third. But we haven't drawn the line that joins the final vertice back to the start. We can do this by adding a parameter to the end shape function that tells it to add that final line. Adding the close parameter to our call to end shape means that the drawing of the shape is completed and that final line is added for us. We can create many shapes in our program. For example, we can draw another shape after our triangle simply by calling the begin shape function again, adding the vertices and then calling end shape to complete our drawing. Don't forget to add the close parameter to our call to draw the final line. We can also add parameters to the function begin shape that provide it with more information about how we want to draw our shapes. For example, if we call the begin shape function with the parameter lines, we end up drawing a line between each pair of vertices. Please note these parameters have to be all in capitals. We can see this here in our example, where we have 4 vertices that are interpreted as 2 sets of vertices used to draw 2 lines. Perhaps more interesting, though, is the use of the parameters triangles and triangle strip. Let's have a look at the first one. What do you think it might do? In our example, when we specify the triangle's parameter to begin shape, it takes the vertices in groups of 3 and forms these into triangles. But what about triangle strip? This is a very cool parameter as it forms a connected strip of triangles using the same vertices. Let's have a look. There are also parameters called quads and quad strip. I guess you can probably figure out what they do, but why don't you try to use them in an example to see?